so we can start warming up for this 2 hours of dialoguing. I would also invite people to use the chat box freely. Please do share in chat your name and any interesting thing that you would like to use to introduce your work with young people. So just in 1 or 2 lines, however you would like. I invite you all to share in chat any one interesting thing about your work with young people. Thanks so much, Tanya. Tanya says that I love that working with youth encourages me to be authentic as a person. Lovely to hear that, Tanya. Hi, Shannon from Wales. She says that they work with young people aged 11 to 25 and youth work professionals. One fun thing happening soon is that we are bringing group to Ireland next week, which you're excited about, as some have never been on a plane before. Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Thanks so much, Shannon. We just wait for a couple more minutes to have more friends from around the world join us. And meanwhile, I would invite people to keep sharing in the chat box, to keep using the chat box, to have conversations with each other. Manisha, can we move on to the next slide, please?
Sure.
Just to set, we also have some requests to make this online experience of dialoguing a little more streamlined and fun and loving for all of us. So I've already asked everyone to rename ourselves with name and country, like I have done, Pooja India. We'll also request if people can stay muted when they're not talking so that we can hear each other clearly. And it would be great if possible, we can turn our cameras on so that we can see each other. And since we have some people from different cultures and geographies joining us, would request everyone to be open and respectful. And lastly, of course, let's use the chat freely and keep it buzzing, sharing our insights and thoughts with each other. With that, I will now taking the conversation forward. I will now invite Ashraf Patel. She is the co-founder of Commutiny Prava and have been a core member of the Vartalip Coalition. She's also on the board. She's also a founding member of the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Workers Association, CAYWA. She's a distinguished social entrepreneur and has played a key role in the foundation of youth work practice in India. Ashraf, over to you. Ashraf, you're on mute. Sorry, we'll just unmute you.
Hi. Hi, everybody. So welcome, everyone. It's so beautiful to see this coming together of youth workers from across the world. Some familiar faces. So nice to see you all again, old friends, and new ones I hope that we will make today. So I have the pleasure of welcoming you to this first ever shared leadership dialogue in the series that we are planning of youth work in the challenging times. And today's dialogue is on well-being and mental health. We'll jump into it right away. But before that, I'd like to share a little bit about the effort that we are putting together right now. And this is in collaboration with the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Workers Associations, Commutiny, and Catalyst in Communities is the first starting incubation partner of these dialogues. A little bit about Commutiny that I am also part of and is behind sort of co-creating and co-designing these series. The idea is to continuously evolve with your participation, everyone here. We are a community of practice of 120 youth work organizations engaged in amplifying youth work across the country. And we work on building youth spaces, co-led and co-facilitated, co-designed with young people on active citizenship. A little bit about, let's get into this dialogue itself and why we thought it was important, and what are the objectives of this dialogue. So about a month or two ago, we decided that we wanted to create a conversation amongst youth workers, not only in the Commonwealth, but also try to see if we can start bringing members from across the world. But of course, CAYWA is a founding partner. So we begin with the Commonwealth countries, since a lot of work has happened with the Commonwealth Youth Program and CAYWA in the past many years. We wish to now expand this conversation to youth workers across. What is the objective of this dialogue series? We wanted to basically focus on three objectives. One is, of course, showcase the contemporary theory and practice. There are experiments and processes and programs being designed across the world. And could we create a space where every month we meet and hear stories, best practices, and experiences of youth workers from different parts in the regions? The second objective that we have is we wanted to create this conversation not only as an exchange, but to create a community that can interact over a longer period of time. And so the idea is not to only focus on these online conversations, but also at some point, if we can create bilateral collaborations, communications, and continue the learning journey. And the last objective we have as part of this dialogue series is we are hoping over the next set of interactions, we create a common pool of shared resources, a kind of sort of a bank of very exciting practices across the world. And we do it by actually inviting all of you all here to contribute to this co-creation through, of course, these conversations, but also a back-end collection of resources where we invite each member to contribute their practices, their theories, any products or tools or process manuals that you all have made, which you wish to sort of share with this community. And we will then see how we want to take this across. We will talk more about this as we go along. A few lines about the design of this dialogue. We feel the design is very important in this world of Zoom conversations, online interactions. It's really important that how do we create a space even online where it is not a one-to-many, but create spaces for conversations in smaller groups, in larger groups. So we will see. This is our first, and let's see. Typically, what we are thinking, and this is open for feedback, we'll take from you at the end of today's dialogue. But we'll begin with a personal introduction of the lead facilitator. In the design, we also have breakouts of members. Can we just go back to the slide, please? Yes. We begin with personal introductions, followed by the personal introduction of the lead facilitator. We also want to make time for the members here, for all of you, to also create an intimate space. So we break out in groups of 4 or 5, depending on the size of the group in the room today, and share a little bit about ourselves and get to know each other. Then we come back to the plenary and invite the lead facilitators to share their concepts and theories, followed by reflections and Q&A. We will do this in 2 segments. The sharing of the lead facilitator, the design is that we share first 10-15 minutes on key concepts that the lead presenter wants to share on the theme of the day. Break for 10 minutes for plenary interaction, Q&A, reflections, resonances. We bring back the lead facilitator again to share their best practices happen on ground. And following that, we again come back and open for conversations, questions, and plenary discussions. Then go into breakouts again in the second half of the conversation, with the idea of creating again a space where people can share their own practices and their connection to the conversation that we have in the main room. Finally, we end with inviting all the members to share at least one resource, one insight, one contribution they wish to make for the pool of resources that we are putting together on a Padlet, which is a back-end online document. And we are hoping by the end of these series, we will have lots of real goodies that are available for all of us to use as gifts from this community. We can just move on, and I want to share with you what we have so far. Please note, this is work in progress. This is done in collaboration with currently members of the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Workers Associations. And the idea is to begin with them. A few of the members have contributed and collaborated to offer sessions. So as you can see on the screen, we will have one session every month. We begin with well-being and mental health today. We then move to social justice lens in youth work in October by Tanya, Merrick. You can read the facilitators for each of the dialogues. We move to youth-centric development lens and the fifth space framework, which community will be offering. Then we are looking at youth work ethics in different contexts by Jane Zintel from New Zealand. In January, we hope to bring CAYWA, the Sri Lankan Association, and Commutiny and Prava on building cadres, talking about short courses and how they have worked on ground in youth work training. In February, youth work, the theory of mindset change, puja, and in community. So these are some of the sessions we have outlined. There could be some changes, and we are sharing this right now, hopefully to create excitement and interest, and also opening it up for you, each one of the members here. If you would like to offer a session, practice, a theory, and be part of the dialogue series as lead facilitators, we are now suggesting that we seek you, or you share with us back end. Please write to Pooja, me, we will be writing to you, each one of you, and we are thinking that we'll open this space following that and build this into a open space format for youth workers to share their best practices. So that done, maybe we can now begin. I'll complete my piece, and I want to invite a very special person, Tanya. Many of you know her. She's the co-chair of the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Work Associations, and she's also the founder director of the Jamaican Professional Youth Workers Association. She has been a champion in this initiative. Thank you, Tanya, for being really encouraging and inviting us to make this happen. So no better person than you to share lead presenter into the room. Yes, Tanya.
All right. Well, big up on yourselves, everyone. Greetings. Buenos dias. Ni hao. Top of the morning to you all. You know, am I getting them all, Robin? But as we love to say in Jamaica, big up, hail up, everyone. I am Tanya Merrick, but AKA my writer name is Tanya Global. And so it's a pleasure to facilitate, to be a part of the facilitation of these dialogues, because Ash and I have worked together for years, and we like to invite each other into our spaces. I am a Commonwealth Youth Development Work graduate, and I know the benefits of learning about what's happening in other countries. And I see the impact in my work when I learned about Sri Lanka and Malaysia and India, and I see the strength that each space has in terms of youth development and the impact that you have all had. And I know that it can be something that's beneficial. And so, as the Commonwealth Alliance of Youth Workers Association, I am happy that we're finally able to. Ash and I are doers. And so we hate to just get up every day and talk. We hate talk shops. Youth workers hate talk shops because, they only talk with us tokenistically. And so we decided to just stop talking and doing. And so the alliance was convened in 2015, if my memory serves me right. I convened it in South Africa, and it was an effort on the part of the Commonwealth Youth Program to do just that. What the diploma program did is to get us talking amongst ourselves, get us being a collective, which comes from India, and the idea of being a collective and being able to speak together, our voices would be stronger in our local spaces. Our learning would be stronger. Our work and the impact of our work would be stronger. And so that's why we are an alliance. So we don't just come to receive, we come to give, we come to share knowledge, we come to share best practices, because too long have best practices been dominated by certain countries that I will not call their name in this space, but it's not that they are better at doing it, it's just that they are better at capturing and sharing and promoting what they do. And so we hope that this space, a lot of practitioners that are doing excellent work will be able to use this space to share what you're doing. And we're going to have a variety of webinars coming out, monitoring and evaluation, best practices, research, you name it. And we're going to make it practical. It has to be something that a practitioner can leave and be able to begin to think about and see how they could integrate. And then we can also share information and do some mentorship, some co-creation activities together in our local spaces. And so Youth Workers Association is open to any youth worker from across the Commonwealth and beyond, because I live in a region that's not just the Caribbean, that's not just the Commonwealth, but it's also the Americas. And so we will not deny any youth worker or youth work organization the access to the alliance. And so in a nutshell, that's what we do. We look forward to those coming to the conference in November, or at least joining on virtual as best as you can. We look forward to seeing the winners of the Youth Work Awards this year, and just continue to be a part of us in whatever way you can. And so welcome on behalf of the Commonwealth Alliance and our board and our members, and let's just have a great dialogue. Thank you. And big up on yourself again, man. I see too much seriousness. We're youth workers, I work with young people that help me to keep young and vibrant, because I have to bring it, especially if you're working in a North American, Jamaican setting. Jamaica people they don't stop. They're like, little energizer bunnies. So we have to be able to keep that youth-centric energy going. All right, so let's enjoy.
Super. Thanks, Tanya, for setting the tone. Yeah, let's enjoy. Let's have some fun. Fun is also serious business. So let's go ahead. Is my connection okay, Pooja? Is there a break?
Yeah. Now it's all right.
Okay. So very, very happy to announce and bring in our lead presenter, lead facilitator for this dialogue, Robin Lockhart. Kindly pin him. And Robin Lockhart is the founder director of Catalyst in Communities and CAYWA board member, a good friend, known him for many years, and so proud to be here on the other side, bringing you into this room and to be ready to receive. He is a recipient of the Commonwealth Youth Worker Award and also the ambassador of youth work with the Commonwealth. Among his many avatars, he's a coach, he's a trainer, he's a social entrepreneur, he's an administrator, so many avatars, but most importantly, I feel he's a good friend and brings to every space tremendous brilliance, tremendous experience, uh, uh, I would say a lot of wit, a lot of contemporary practice, and a deep transformational engagement with young people and youth workers over many years. It's so good to be here. There is many organizations, Robin, you've been part of. I want to share one which may be of interest to members here, that you have co-founded and led a number of path-breaking initiatives and organizations. Among them, one of them is the Newham Restorative Justice Network, which has also received many accolades from across the world for its powerful work on inclusion, youth inclusion in its fullness, and participation, something that we talk about, we all wish to deepen. So many congratulations on your work across different organizations, different themes, and looking forward to you to bring to us your best into this room for all of us on youth work and well-being, mental health and well-being today. Inviting you, Robin, to please come in and to begin this conversation. We'll just keep it a little informal, friends. This is the little bit of the formal part, introductions to everybody, the opening. But we also want to share that we will try to mix it and keep it in a dialogue format. So let's begin with hearing a little bit personal from Robin. Robin, would love to hear
Thank you, Ash.
as you begin your personal interest, inspiration to be in this field, if you can begin that to lead us on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashraf, for your very, very kind words. It's a privilege to be here. I love looking at this list of names and countries on the screen here. The Commonwealth is a proper slice of the world that we live on. And, you know, for me, I came into youth work after many years of working in creative and cultural industries with music, and use a lot of creative work with the young people that I engage with. I think that culture is the most beautiful thing that we have. It's something that we share. It's something that connects us. It's something that brings us together. And I also believe that it's core to being a human. If we don't create things, if we're not creative in our lives, we start to be at risk of becoming unwell. And, you know, the theme today, mental health and well-being, is for me probably the most important topic of conversation on the planet at the moment. We have many problems. You know, you turn on the TV, you open a newspaper, you look on your phone. Every day there's a deluge of terrible news. We need to look after ourselves. We need to look after our young. Our children and our young people are the core of society for me and our team at Catalyst in Communities. And we do whatever we can to remind young people and those who work with them and policymakers and politicians, government people, corporates, that we're nothing without our young people. I still find it strange, after having been involved in youth work now for well over 20 years, I still find it really strange and quite infuriating that we're still arguing the case for investing and nurturing our children and young people. For me, that's the central piece of work. It's the single most important thing that every society on this globe should be doing. And those of you who are on this call are doing it. So thank you. Thank you. You're doing the best work. You're doing the most vital work. Without sort of laboring it too much, the one thing that we know about young people is that they don't stay young. We're all evidence of that. We were all young once, all of us on this call. We grow up. And the more investment, the more nurturing, the more caregiving that we can give to young people while they're young, the better adults they become. They grow up to be happier, healthier, physically and emotionally, more productive, more peaceful, more interactive with each other, kinder to each other, more compassionate. Not only is that the kind of world that I want to live in, but I think that's the kind of world that can save governments billions of pounds or yen or euros or whichever country you're in. It's the core piece of work. So thank you for doing what you do, all of you. I'm going to reiterate what Prue just said at the beginning. If we can turn our cameras on, it helps with these things. I know I'm talking to my laptop and all I can see at the moment is me because I'm pinned to the screen. If we could all unmute our cameras, that's not the right word. You know what I mean? Switch your cameras on. It will help. It will help with the flow of information. It helps with this dialogue. And we're really keen. And I love what Ashraf and Tanya both said. we're really keen for this to be a dialogue series. We don't want this to just be presentations. There is a presentation coming up. I am going to show you some slides, but it won't be death by PowerPoint. They're to illustrate some things and to make some points. And two things I'm really going to introduce today are things that sort of underpin all of the work we do at Catalyst in Communities. We have two processes. One is the beautiful African process of Ubuntu, the philosophy of Ubuntu, which we'll get into a little bit later. And the other one is our own process that we call the art of perception. We use both of these things in everything that we do, whether we're doing a drama project, a football project, a fashion project, whatever, music project. It's always got these themes, these threads running through it. It brings people together. And as human beings, when we feel included, valued, part of a group with a shared set of goals and maybe a shared name and all of these things, we start to function better. These things are protective factors. So we try to instill that in every group that we run. I think that we're gonna split into some breakout rooms and things at some points during today. And we're interested in hearing what you say. I mean, the way we're interacting now on this call is the way that the young people that we interact with are spending more and more and more of their time. They are connected internationally. They do not see borders, necessarily country borders, as being valid or part of their life even. They do have friends from various different countries. And just looking at the list on the screen over here now, we've got people from across the world here. It's a beautiful thing that we are able to connect. And yet in this age of global digital connection, it seems that there's some arguments to say that people are becoming less and less connected to their own communities, to their own lives, to their own sanity. These two things seem to be two sides of a coin. And I think youth work is very well placed to bring them back together again, to make sure that we have people that are connected into their communities, into their lives, and functioning in the best ways possible. Ashraf, I'll leave it there for now. I know we've got plenty to do, plenty to get into.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks. Why don't we take the lead from here and I think spend some time. You talked about people from across the world. Pooja has hopefully made us into groups, and we're trying to get us into cross-country groups of 3 or 4 members each. So let's take a little time, maybe 15 minutes in our breakouts. Let's be spacious. Let's get to know each other. And we are requesting all of you to share your name, your organization, what brings you here, and what inspires you to make well-being part of your work with young people. So just a way of getting to know each other and share your work in the area of youth work and well-being in a very brief getting to know session with each other. Let's spend some time together. Will be about three minutes for each person. We think that should be good to get us started, get to know each other. And she sent the link. If you can all go and join the breakout and come back in 12 to 15 minutes, she'll bring us back into this room. Let's immerse ourselves and spend some time with each other. See you. And let's hope you're going to make some new friends.
We're back. That was lovely. Shanta, I got to meet one of your colleagues. It was amazing.
Very interesting, yeah.
I had Sri Lanka, India, and Ghana in my breakout room. That was wonderful.
Oh.
And I bring Zambia with me. Zambia is part of me too. I was born in Zambia, so we had Zambia, Ghana, India, Sri Lanka, all together.
I think if we don't pin Robin right now, it'll be good. Let's see each other's faces, friends. Pooja.
Here we go.
Yeah, so, and we are a small group, and I'm going to go outside the brief a little, and we can just have one line name and just your feeling in the group. And one thing about you, we do have time. We can just like have a 30-second. Let's just hear everybody's voice in the room before we then land back to Robin. So just how you're feeling and what you're looking forward to today's dialogue. Yes. Can we just hear and everyone? Howard, can we start with you? Good to meet you after many years. I'm just going beyond
There
the
we
brief
are.
a little bit.
Yeah, just trying to
yeah.
unmute it. Sorry. I didn't know how to change my name from Howard Williamson to Howard Wales or Howard UK. I did send Robin an email, but he didn't read it, Robin. So to tell me how to do it, I thought you were a bit technical support.
I could provide.
I think the only thing I'll say is that I mean, some of you may know me from my writing and other things, and CAYWA, and got many different things over many years. Hello, Shannon. It's lovely to see somebody from Wales. But I will say that when COVID broke out, far too many academics just did more research on young people. And the last thing young people wanted was yet another damn questionnaire to fill in, or how are you feeling about living under COVID? I was a J&C qualified youth worker in the UK, and police checked, disclosure and barring scheme checked, so a safe person. First thing I did was I wrote to the boss of my local authority and said, can I help? Can I help young people in my municipality? And I also ride a motorbike, and I didn't want to get stopped by the police in lockdown. So that was the selfish reason for volunteering. But I got a letter back within a week asking me to become a COVID-19 Community Resilience Youth Support Worker, which is the longest title I've ever had. And it was to support young people who were deeply anxious, who were often very isolated, very lonely. And it was a real test of my youth work practice skills, because what they saw was an old man getting off a motorbike with grey hair. And could I connect with music or sport or something? Would I be able to make a connection standing on the street, looking at a young person in a doorway who was living in bed and breakfast accommodation? And most of the time, I think I did okay, and went home feeling quite good, and had made the connection, built the relationship, and doing the fundamental things that youth workers do, which is building trust and building relationships. And in that way, I hope I alleviated some of their anxieties. And I'm avoiding the word mental health very deliberately. I won't say why, I won't elaborate on that, but I love well-being, and I wanted to promote the well-being of those young people. Thank you. Sorry.
So
No, thank you,
lovely.
Howard. Sorry, Ash, go on.
I think my connection is breaking.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I think my connection is breaking, isn't it? It's breaking, right?
Oh.
Thanks, Howard. Thank you, Howard. I think it'll be lovely if we can just hear everybody just share one line what they are looking forward to in this conversation, and then we will move to Robin. So let's just move. Thanks, Howard, for setting it off. Only because of want of time, I'm going to ask everyone to just give us one question, one thing that they want this dialogue or the other dialogues to land in. So it'll give us the direction. And yeah, Shannon, would you like to go? And then tag Shannon, let's just hear everybody. And a little bit quickly, if
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to do a really brief summary. So I'm Shannon from Wales. Really good to be in your group, Ash. And thank you, Howard. I think it's really interesting that you steered away from mental health. It's really interesting that everyone says I have mental health. Yeah, everyone has mental health, either positive or negative or anywhere in between. So I really like the term well-being, and I'm here just to share good practice and learn from all the other countries as well. That's my brief, really quick.
you can tag Shannon. So beautiful. Let's let it roll. Yeah.
I'll go as him because he was in my group.
Thanks, Shannon. Hi, everyone. This is Asim. I'm a youth worker and an academic as well in India. And what I look at is usually larger, like social justice kind of challenges that leads to exclusion and leads to bad mental health. So I'm also looking forward to share that perspective and learn from all of you about the times that we are in, and these are not well-being times in general. So how do we navigate together? Yes, thank you. I will tag.
Keep tagging.
Yeah, let me tag someone outside my group. Sanjay?
Yeah, Asim. I'm Sanjay. I think what I look forward to in this conversation, as we had been talking about in the breakout itself, I think a sense of collective care, which I've always sort of felt from youth workspaces, and something that will, as a young person and a youth worker, that I'm really looking forward to is how, as people working with young people in different contexts and different challenges across the globe, how we are sort of being able to co-create that sense of collective care, which is, I think, the answer to the challenges that we're looking for. Yeah, I'll tag Joyce.
And I'd encourage some of you to start putting also these on the chat, so we will, move ahead together. Some folks can speak it out and others could share on the chat, so we will keep moving. Yeah, Joyce, you've been called upon. Okay, maybe we don't tag,
Okay,
we
Ash,
just,
Shanta here.
yeah, Shanta, go
Shanta.
ahead.
Yeah, I think it's great. This dialogue creates kind of a re-energizing, right? So we energizing with no cost in the context that countries like us, we are having a lot of economic constraints to physically meet, but this dialogue creates space for us to meet and share and kind of refresh what we do for young people. I think that's great. That's amazing starting point. So thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Okay, can I continue?
Yes, Joyce.
Yes. Joyce here wanted to share about why not investing in the capacity building for youth worker, like here in Namibia, we don't have funds to train youth worker. Why can't youth worker use the natural skills like they teach young people for storytelling as we grow up, some of us. The adult people were taking us during evening for storytelling. If you can, I can see in here in Namibia, young people they transform their sadness into songs. They process their anger through painting. This creativity cannot not only improve their emotional well-being, but it can also build their confidence and their pride, their identity. That's why
Beautiful.
I'm here. I want to hear how can we help young people and how can we help youth workers to help young people
Thanks,
for
Joyce.
mental health.
Thanks, Joyce. And I'm going to request everyone else to share in the chat what they would like to hear in this conversation. And with this opening, I'm going to hand it over to Robin. Take us away and take us into your journey and your perspectives, and we'll follow. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Ash. It's been wonderful to, I'm trying to share my screen and now I can't see my PowerPoint at all. It's been wonderful to hear. I mean, what Joyce was just saying about creativity kind of echoes what I was talking about earlier. And we need to be able to be creative as human beings. We can't really function without that.
Do you want help with the PowerPoint?
Robin, should I screen share?
Yeah, it's not even on. I can see it on my screen, but it's not available for me. Here we go. Here we go. It just took a sec. So please tell me, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Should be able to see some slides. Wonderful. Oh, that gave me anxiety for a moment. I was having some well-being issues just for a second. I don't think there's a bigger topic. I think that well-being, mental health, however we frame it, I don't like the word mental health either Howard and whoever else was mentioning that. I think that when people mention mental health, they tend to be talking about ill health. When they say, oh, I've got mental health, they mean they've got an illness, something wrong. I know that deep down within every human being, all the emotions exist. These are not things that happen to us, they're things that we produce. So when we work with young people at Catalyst in communities, we follow the ancient African traditions of Ubuntu, which some of the people on the call are from Africa. Some of the people on the call may not have heard of Ubuntu, I don't know. Ubuntu roughly translates, well, the best translation I've come across for me is I am because we are, and because we are, I am. So as humans, we need to be together. We function best when we are a collective. And I had the privilege of being in a breakout room with Sanjay in India. And we spoke a little bit about how none of us youth workers have the one solution that's going to fix all the world's problems. But together we have solutions. And in fact, together is the solution. You know, if we can spend more time interacting with others who are different, who have different points of view, different perspectives, we all benefit. So what we do at Catalyst is we help young people to change the way they see the world. We call that the art of perception. We all look through our own eyes and we all communicate with others. We all make up stories about others. But this kind of village mentality where we're included, we feel valuable, we feel valued, and we feel part of something is the beginnings of building the sort of the resilience to withstand any of the other pressures, the risk factors of life. You know, as we've said earlier on, that it's not a very healthy time for the planet. We've got all kinds of challenges and problems out there. However, if we feel that we're at the heart of the village, if we feel that we're fully valuable and fully included, we're more likely to be able to sustain these challenges. And I'm sure lots of you have heard the African saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And the whole of that saying is it takes a village to raise a child. And if that child is not initiated fully into the heart of that village, they may burn it down just to feel a little warmth. So in some societies, particularly in whatever we mean by Western societies, that phrase always annoys me as well. Europe is the West, America and Canada is the West, Australia is the West. What does the West mean? So we talk to young people about who are you? Not just your name, not just your age, not just your ethnicity, not just your faith. Who are you? How do you fit in to your society? What role do you have? What place do you have in there? This is a beautiful slide here. I didn't take these pictures, but as human beings, we look through our eyes out into the world. We project into the world, whatever we've got inside. And we see other humans and we make up a story about them. The words there, in case you can't see, some of you might be on phones, it says, could a greater miracle take place than for us to look through each other's eyes for an instant? Now, it doesn't matter how long I talk to Sanjay or Ash or anybody else. It doesn't matter how long we spend together. I cannot see the world through your eyes. And when I meet a new human, we automatically start to make up a story about them. Are they happy? Are they healthy? Are they male? Are they female? Are they young? Are they old? Are they employed? Are they unemployed? Do they live in a house? Do they live in a tent? We're looking at these pictures now, making up stories about them. The good news is that none of those stories are true until you believe them. And the act of believing them makes them true. I'm not a different race to Shanta. I'm not a different race to Peter. We are one race, the human race. Everything else is a story. So we talk in our work about the great illusion. There is an illusion out there. It looks and feels real. It looks like other people, our friends, our family, our neighbors, our bosses, our colleagues, the people on the other town, the people who support the other football team, the people of the other faith, the government, the media, the police, and other external things like the weather. It really looks and feels like those things influence how we feel. And we remind young people when we work with them that this is not the case. Even though it looks real, we call it the teddy bear effect. When a baby is in its cradle or its cot crying, in any of the countries represented here and all of the other countries not represented here, what we do the world over is we check that baby as a parent. If you're a lucky baby, you have parents who care and they come and they attend to you. We check the nappy, we check, is the baby too hot, too cold? Is it hungry? Has it spilt the milk all over itself? Is there a toy car where it shouldn't be? Has its little brother put another toy in there? Has a snake got into the cot? We check everything. And at the end of that, we give the baby some sort of comfort toy. We call it a teddy bear. It might be a blanket. It might be not a bear. It could be another kind of cuddly toy. Could be a dummy. It could be a thumb. But we infer as a parent that that bear creates the comfort. This thing that's made of leather and nylon and cotton and wool and plastic and maybe some glass for the eyes, We infer that these things produce an emotion that calms the baby down. And the baby believes us. But it's not true. It's a story. None of those materials create comfort. If we said to a baby, you know, cuddle this bottle, it will make you feel better, people would think we were crazy. We infer that the teddy bear does the job. It doesn't. It looks like the outside affects our inner work and our inner life. And it's not true, not even 1% of the time. It's part of the equation, but our emotions come from us. They don't come to us. They emerge from us in response to external things. We don't respond to the world. We respond to our map of the world, the way we see that world. And our maps are all different. I don't have the same map as Pooja. I don't have the same map as Joyce. I don't have the same map as Ashraf. They have their own map. And no matter how accurate that map is, it's not the world. So if you only look at your map, your view of the world, your beliefs, your story, and never compare it to reality, we say that you're operating on autopilot, my autopilot, and you don't have an opportunity then to update your map. There's a map that we see regularly of the world. You can see Greenland, the big white landmass at the top there. According to this map, Greenland is the same size as Africa. India is maybe double the size of the UK. This is not true. It's a story that was told. It's a story that's continuing to be told. This is not accurate. It's not true. Arnos Peters created a map that was based on the actual location and sizes of the countries. And you can see Greenland is smaller than single nations in Africa, let alone the whole continent. India is about 13, maybe 14 times the size of the UK. These is reality in terms of the dimensions and the sizes. So even the map of the world that we live in is a story that we've been told. When people see this map, they typically shout things like, oh, it's upside down, it's wrong, it's weird. I've shown this to people who've literally taken 10 minutes to find the UK on this map because it's disorientating. When your map of the world, the way you see the world, is not accurate, it's disorientating. You go out into the world, you're more vulnerable because what we think influences what we can achieve. If you think you can or you think you can't achieve something, you're right. If you go into the world thinking that everybody's out to get you, you'll find evidence for that. If you go out into the world thinking that everybody's going to nurture you and support you, you'll find evidence for that. We have a blinkered view. That can either protect us or wreck us. This is something that when I first saw this equation, I call it emotional maths. This changed me. Things happen outside in the world. An event takes place. We are not in charge of the events. We can do things to maximize or minimize the chances of an event happening, but we're not the ones who make the events happen. We can't control them all. But we can, luckily, choose the right response to create the right outcome from any event. And when we're working with young people who have been through horrible things, challenging things, disturbing things, traumatic things that could lead to a mental health disorder, a proper diagnosis. And I should say at this point, I'm never ever saying that nobody has a need for medication, diagnosis, maybe even incarceration. I recognize there's a continuum. Some people at the very, very, very high end do need those medical interventions. However, the vast majority of the young people that I'm working with, and probably you are working with, and through being part of CAYWA, the people that I've spoken to tell me it's true, the vast majority of young people are not at that high end. They may be feeling anxious. Something's happened in the world that they're not in control of. This is happening globally all day, every day, to a huge level. Young people's anxiety and stress and depression, I think, is a normal, rational response to the way the world is. But sometimes they're getting diagnosed and medicated and told that they're ill. They're not. They're sensitive. They're intelligent. They're normal. So this is a very complicated diagram of a very complicated process that we all do all day long with no effort. The top right-hand corner, can you see the cursor? Give me a thumbs up if you can see the cursor, because I don't know. You can, brilliant. So the top right-hand corner is outside, the real world. Something takes place out there. It happens, an event takes place. It comes to us through our senses. So much information comes to us all day long from everything that's going on that we can't cope with it all. So we generalize, distort, and delete bits of it to make sense of it. We filter it through our memories, our language, our values and beliefs, our attitudes, our upbringing, basically. That then forms the way we feel about this. It affects our state. Do we feel anxious? Do we feel stressed? Do we feel happy? Do we feel challenged? All of those things. That's what creates our map of the world, our view of the world. That then affects our physiology. So it creates, stress can create muscle spasms. It can create headaches. It can create illness. So that creates behavior. So we then do something in the world, which results in somebody else experiencing one of our events. And the process continues non-stop, all day, every day, all night, every night. Whether you're awake or asleep, you're hearing things, you're sensing things, and you're making them mean something. I don't know if everybody's seen this picture. Most people, I think, have probably seen this picture by now. You can unmute if you want to tell me. Can you see an old woman, a young woman? I've had somebody recently say, no, I can see a cat. The way you see things is going to be different to the way I see things. I'm going to pick on Sanjay because I've met him now. Sanjay, can you unmute for a second, please?
Yeah.
What do you see, sir? What do you see?
I can see an old woman.
Can you see the young woman?
I can't.
Do you believe that there is a young woman there?
Now, because you said I am, I do.
But thank you, Sanjay, for letting me pick on you. Who can see a young woman? Would you like to unmute and point out to Sanjay where the young woman is? It's the same picture. Anybody see the young woman?
Yeah, I can see both.
Go on, Paulette. My friend from the UK.
So Sanjay, if you use the old woman's nose as the chin of the young woman who is looking away. So she's looking away from, she's not looking towards you, she's looking away, and she's got a feather in her hat.
Yeah, you got it, Paulette. So the old woman's eye is the young woman's ear.
Mm-hmm.
The old woman's nose is the young woman's chin. The old woman's mouth is a necklace on the young woman's neck. The young woman's kind of looking away to the side. So Paulette, is it a young woman or an old woman? It's both.
It's both. Well, it's both. It just depends on what you how you perceive things.
I recently had a young person go, Robin, it's neither. It's a picture. It's not a woman. It's a drawing. So the way we see things can be interpreted in any amount of ways. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. We bring ourselves to the reality. We change what we see, feel, think, hear. Our emotions shift depending on who we are and how we are. I often show this one to young people. So if the orange dots represent you, normally people think the one on the right-hand side looks bigger than the one on the left-hand side. Give me some thumbs ups or send some images and your feedback. Do you think the one on the right looks bigger than the one on the left? They are the same size. I can see a couple of people nodding. They're the same size. Even if you know that they're the same size, if they represent you, but the blue dots or gray dots, depending on how you see it, around them represent your problems, which view helps you? Which view would you prefer? So I've had young people go, well, I want this one on the left, because although I'm small and the problems look big, there's less problems, Robin. I've also had young people go, I want to feel big and I want my problems to feel small. I don't care how many there are, as long as they feel small. And I say, great. Both of those answers are correct. Find the answer that works for you, adopt it, implement it in your life, and keep working with it. There is no right or wrong way of seeing the world. There's only the way that works for you. Choose one that works for you. Now, who can I pick on for this one? I can't see that many faces on here. Who's going to interact with me? Who's got their camera on? Gibran in Sri Lanka. Are you there? Can you hear me? Do you want to unmute for a second? Can I pick on you just for a moment? Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Can you work that out? Which number is the car parked in? Which parking space? Are you doing maths? Tell me what's going on in your mind, in your thoughts.
30.
Have I lost you? Like, I picked on Gibran and he's left the call. That's terrible. I'll explain. So what most people do when they see this is they start to work it out. They put a lot of effort into their thinking processes. Some people start to do mathematical equations. Some people are trying to work out 16 to 6, that's 10, and then 6 to 68. Oh, God. But we overthink things. If we rely on our heads, everything is possible up here. Everything is possible up here, which could be good, bad, indifferent, frightening, calm. Everything's possible. And if we stop thinking and stop relying on our thoughts too much, we can see the card's in number 87, sorry. Just our viewpoint changes things. 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. Very easy. Actually, I'm going to pick on you because I can see you. And I've met you before. What do you see in this picture?
Brick, like a wall of many bricks and some like a stone.
So there's a brick wall with a little grey stone, is it, in the middle?
Yeah.
If I told you that's not a grey stone and you've seen it completely wrong, would you be offended? I hope not. It's not a,
No,
it's
no.
not a grey stone. I've had people tell me
Is
it's
it
a
a bird?
mouse, it's a
Yeah,
bird,
is it like
it's
a bird?
snake. So if I tell you it's actually a cigar,
Cigar.
there's a cigar poking out of the wall. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. And it's the same with our relationship to our thinking. Once we stop believing our thinking and acting on it as if it's real and change the relationship we have to our thinking, we become much more resilient to any well-being issue. So I'm going to show you where the cigar is now. There's the cigar. Now you can see it, yeah?
Can't unsee it.
You can never unsee it. And it's the same. When you start to see where your true well-being comes from, it's not from external sources. Nobody can make you angry. Nobody can make you sad. They're part of the equation. They do the things that you don't like. They say the things that you don't appreciate, but you're the one creating your emotional state. It's emanating from you. It's not coming to you. If somebody's rude about your mum and you say they made me angry, you're giving them your power. Retain your power. So the meaning of our communication lies with the people we are communicating with, not in what we intend. So where conflict happens, there's always an opportunity. And we've done, as Ashraf said at the beginning, I did a lot of restorative justice work, and the Ubuntu processes come to that work really, really nicely. When we're having a conflict with somebody, it's always worth just checking in. What did you hear in what I said? What did you think I meant by what I did? And just checking in with the others, the people that we're with. What did you get from that? Thank you, Akshay. This, for me, illustrates the difference, or actually the overlap between teaching and learning. Teaching, and Howard is smiling. Howard knows this stuff. Teaching and learning are mirror images of the same thing. We never stop learning, particularly as youth workers. Every session we do, young people teach us. Young people know what needs to change on the planet. They know they're not ill. They haven't got a mental illness. They're angry. They're frustrated. They're anxious. They're depressed. They're sad. They can see what's going on. And we need to give them more credit for that by placing them at the heart of our village. This girl is not floating. She's lying on the sand next to her towel, no matter how it looks. And no matter how it looks, young people are telling us, they're communicating through their behavior on the streets of every city in the planet, every day of the year, every year for the last 5, 10 years. Young people are telling us, this is not okay. We need change. We have to listen to them as the adults. We know that behavior is communication. All behavior is communication. And what we need to do, and youth work does it the best of any sector, is slow things down and say to the young people, I need to hear you better. What are you telling us? What do we need to hear from you? What ideas have you got? What changes can take place? And how can I help? And I think that being involved in youth work is a real privilege. Young people are the core of our global village. They have new ways of seeing old problems. Mental health, well-being, or however we frame it, is not a new problem. And I refuse to believe that young people are more mentally ill than any generation before. I think we've got an epidemic of diagnosis, not necessarily an epidemic of illness, because it's not an illness. It's like a metaphoric illness. If you've got a bad relationship to your thinking, then you can spin off into all kinds of challenges and problems. If you've got a relationship to your thinking where you're able to observe your thought processes, notice them, but kind of put them to the side and go, I'm thinking that I'm very stressed and anxious today, but do I need to behave like that? You can break the link. I'm not suggesting it's easy. I'm not suggesting I can do it all of the time. It's not easy. It's a constant thing. But to suggest that when somebody gets a poor relationship, a tangled up, knotted relationship to their thinking, that they are ill, and telling them you're ill, you need medication, you've got a diagnosis, this is a sickness, I think ruins the chances of them coming back to happiness, healthiness, which remains within us all the time. It doesn't go anywhere. We just stop looking at it. We stop noticing it. You've heard that description of depression as being the big black cloud that descends. Like the sunshine of happiness hasn't gone away. The cloud has come and covered it. But we know that clouds move. The sun doesn't disappear when it's cloudy. Happiness doesn't disappear when we're feeling sad. It's just we're not focusing on it. So although I have full respect for the mental health mainstream, psychotherapists, counselors, psychoanalysis, all of those things are very, very important. I think that in youth work, we are being forced, particularly, I'm going to speak from the UK perspective because that's what I know the best, but from being involved in CAYWA, I've heard from lots of other regions as well. We're being forced to become mental health professionals. We're dealing with more and more challenges, more and more of the time. We're kind of being asked to be everything to everyone all of the time. We have to be bid writers, evaluators, marketing executives, finance executives, social workers, therapists, counselors, big brothers, uncles, dads, sisters, daughters. We're being all of it. And sometimes what we need to do is just take a step back and just be the youth worker, because it's a really, really pivotal role. We have the privilege of different kinds of relationships with young people that most other sectors don't have. We're not their teacher. We're not their employer. We're not their friend. We can be friendly, but as a youth worker, we have the particular role of just helping that young person work out who they are, who they want to become, how they're going to get there, what do they need to start doing, what do they need to stop doing in order to make that journey. That's our role. We're not there to tell them what's right, what's wrong, because they may have a different story to us. They may see the world in a different way to us. In fact, we know they do. That's a given. So connecting with young people, engaging with young people, enabling spaces where they feel at the core of the space, for me, is the biggest protective factor in ensuring that people's well-being is maintained. If we feel valued, valuable, included, part of, involved in a group with some common goals, maybe with some conflict too, and some dialogue and some, resources to address those things, we become far more resilient to all of those other risk factors that are out there that are like a deluge. And I know we're going to pause for a bit now. So thank you for your ears and your eyes and your hearts and heads. Thank you, everybody.
Just want to celebrate this first segment and send your emojis, your reflections. I just want to thank you, Robin, for starting this conversation so
Thank you.
beautifully. Each slide is a reflection of our own practice and what we do, not only with young people, but with ourselves as youth workers. So that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I think it'll be good. Maybe we open up the conversation now for reflections, questions. Remember, after this segment, we are going to move into practice, where Robin is going to share with us the real how-to, some examples of how they practice. I think we can take it in the larger plenary. What do you suggest, Robin? Because we are a small group, we keep it here. So we won't go into the breakouts now. Is it okay with everyone if we just keep it in the plenary? I think we are few. It creates a much more cozier community. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, pausing for reflections and resonances, questions, contrary points of view as well. And from there, we'll move to the next segment. Let's just collect some thoughts, what's going on in your mind. And from your own experience, actually what's happening with you as a youth worker and young people.
You just want people to unmute when they're ready, yeah?
All right,
have something
I'll kick it off.
Go on, Tanya.
So in Jamaica, over the past 2 weeks, we've had about 3 or 4 youth suicides of really young men, young age, teenagers, like 13, 14. And then we just recently, last week, had a Miss Jamaica Universe who was making outcries on the internet and then committed suicide. And I I agree with Robin that a lot of young people, especially in, I mean, not say West, Robin, let me say more developed nations, are being misdiagnosed and overdiagnosed. But I also realized that with the introduction of social media, a lot of kids, families, and communities were already breaking down, through globalization and pop culture. But I realize now that through technology and them being on the screen all the time, there is less parenting taking place, less bonding in the home, less collectivism as people, as families, less learning values of the family. And so there's diminishing coping skills. There's a lot of diminishing coping skills. And then I realized for people like me, who are a part of displaced people across the world, the issues of not dealing with our history and not knowing our history is also creating an issue among young people where they are rejecting everything and then not being equipped with skills to be able to explore, to build identity, and it makes them very volatile in terms of their well-being. And so as youth workers, I'm seeing a greater need to be able to have certain conversations that we had not been taught to have. So for me, culture has become a big conversation. Social justice, because Jamaica don't really talk about social justice, it's become a big conversation because young people are seeing the inequalities and the inequities and nobody's talking about it. So they feel like, what's going on? And so we have a 16-year-old, he can hold a gun at a 3-month-old baby's head and point blank range kill that baby without a second thought. So we are having situations like this. So I'm looking forward to hearing. Robin, I know some of the things you do because I've adopted some of them, and Ash, but I'm looking forward to you sharing some of those things about NLP and stuff, because I really have to employ a lot of those strategies working with youth, because sometimes I'm working with a young man who's been given 60 years in prison with no possibility of parole. Yeah. So
I mean, Tanya, thank you. What you've laid out, I think, is probably, to my mind, I'm never going to say that my way is the only way or the right way. It's that sense of identity that Caribbean Black people don't have. It was taken away. They don't know where they're from. They don't know what their name is. They don't know who their great grandfather was. There's no way for them to find that. That loss of core identity is underneath that. And opportunities like this, CAYWA, the Commonwealth, the United Nations, the EU, anything that offers young people chances to interact with others, to learn a little bit more about the world, about the ways of the world, and even a little bit more about who they might be, is going to be a help. So I've worked a lot. In fact, the whole reason I got involved with the Commonwealth in the first place was I was invited to Jamaica, where we first met, Tanya, to speak at a conference about young people because of the work that I'd done in London with young Black men. I meet young Black men here in London, which is probably, we were talking in our group, weren't we, Sanjay, that London is the most diverse part of the planet. It's the most mixed city on earth. And I live in East London, which is arguably the most mixed part of London. So we have people here from everywhere. If you're a young Jamaican, born here, you have a British passport, you've never been anywhere else, you may have never left. You might not have a passport, you might have British citizenship and have never left the UK. Most people in the UK will still say, oh, you're Jamaican. So they brought up to believe that they're Jamaican. They will probably tell others, I'm Jamaican. If they get the chance to go to Jamaica, as soon as they land, what do the Jamaicans call them, Tanya? English.
Yankee boy, Yankee boy.
Yeah, American.
Although they sound just like
even
us.
if they're from Wales, they probably still say English. And a lot of those young men, and I've had the same experience with a young Ugandan who went back to Uganda for the first time ever. And he said before he even got off the plane, he was like, he looked out the window and went, I'm English. All his life, everyone had told him, you're a Ugandan. You're not part of the culture here. You're not part of the society here. So that feeling of inclusion, that feeling of being part of something, I'm not saying that it can prevent suicide. I mean, suicide is the biggest killer of men on the planet. It's frightening, because it's that feeling of belonging, that sense of what does it mean to be a man? I think it's affecting young men more than any other generation. We do have social media, the kind of, Andrew, the tatification of our planet. There's young men now who think that to be a man means to be violent, misogynistic, racist, sexist, angry. That's not what it is to be a man. And the role of a youth worker when you're working with young men who feel like that is to, we can't tell them you're being wrong, you're stupid, you're on the wrong track. We have to help them to feel it. Provide opportunities for them to feel that sense of belonging. We're moving into the sort of the practice side of it, but I can remember meeting a young man who told me he'd been brought up in a gang. His dad was the gang leader. And he said, I don't trust my dad. I don't trust my mum. I don't trust my brother. I don't trust anyone. If you trust people, they're going to take advantage of you. You're a mug. You're an idiot. So I could have argued with him. I could have told him he was wrong. What I did was broke the group up into small groups and sent them up this high rope exercise, which you cannot do without trusting your teammates. You'll fall off. You're on the hardest. You can't die. But you have to be in a trustful state of mind, or you cannot finish that exercise. This guy was the best I've ever seen. We timed him. He broke all the records. He went across this rope thing quicker than you can imagine, all by himself. He refused to have anybody else in his team initially. We then kind of challenged him and said, wow, you're the fastest we've ever seen. Do you think you could do it blindfold? So he blindfolded himself, got back up there and did it with a team. When he came off of that exercise and his feet were back on the ground, he kind of stayed. I could see he was processing something. He stayed behind when the others went back to the main building. And I walked really slowly back with him. And he was in tears. He said, I've never, ever experienced trust before. He said, now I know what it is. I trust those guys. They helped me when I was blindfolded.
Hello?
Trying to explain that to him verbally or giving him something to read about that is never going to cut it, which is why youth work, experiential learning is the method. You don't have to explain it. They know it. This happened. I've got it. I've done it. It's in me now. And I think that, yeah, what you alluded to, Tanya, is huge. It's a huge thing. We need that sense of core identity, and creativity helps us with that. And Jamaica is, I would say, I mean, you know how I feel about Jamaica, the most creative island on the planet. It's had for a small island, it's had the biggest impact anywhere. So I think if any opportunities to bring people together, to co-create, to work on things together, to make music, to make art, do some drawings, make a film, those things help with having these conversations about what hurts. What am I struggling with? How did I feel that, when the government did this, when he said that, how did it make me feel? And particularly men, I know we're generalizing, but particularly men seem to have problems discussing how they feel because they're supposed to be strong and resilient and not have problems. And we need to break that. It's causing suicide. People keeping it all inside themselves. It's causing those problems. Thank you, Tanya. Anybody else before we move on? Any thoughts, feelings? No things you've noticed?
Hi. Good
Who said that?
again. Hi, everyone.
Are you able to tilt your camera? That's better. We could only see the top of your head, but we can see you now.
You can see me now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
One key thing that resonates with me is the fact that
sorry, ma'am, your name says talk to me. If you can identify yourself, it'll be helpful. We can talk to you. Could you share your name?
Okay, I'm from Ghana.
Nice to know you.
I'm from Ghana.
Nice to know you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can I be heard? Okay,
yes,
can I go on?
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay,
yeah.
So one key thing that resonates with me when he did a presentation was the fact that when youth workers engage the youth, the sorts of conversations that we have with them and the kind of bad experience the youth go through, it sometimes leaves us depressed. And because if you don't have that spirit of resilience to manage issues that come to your table, at the end of the day, the practitioner and the youth, you'll be in the same situation or same circumstance. So it draws my attention to capacity building, where the youth workers, their capacity are built such a way that they will have the shock absorbers to absorb.
Yeah, really good points. Thank you. And you're right. None of us have the solution. As Sanjay said in my breakout room, the solution is for us to work together. And in fact, being together is the solution, isn't it? If we could ignore people's skin colors, their faiths, not ignore, but stop using them to separate us. Stop using these things to divide us.
I think what you was also saying, Robin, was that not only are the youth, it's important for us as practitioners as well, for our own well-being, to be able to have our capacity built so that we can maintain well-being and then also enable that with the young people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall I talk now?
Who said
Yes.
that?
Hello.
Priya. Yes, hi, Priya.
Hello,
Priya.
Ashraf, after a long time. So actually, I thought of we have to think youth well-being versus individualization, because most of the young people from poor to rich, everybody are more engaged with the mobile phones and internet kind of things. So then they always tend to work and think as individuals. They don't even care of their parents. So it starts from, 12 years, 13 years, like. So then we have to think of that line also to work, because and with that the drug addiction is a huge problem. So then how to cope up these situations as nations, as young people, as youth workers? We have to think in that manner also, and we have to work with this psychologists who work with the children, and from there we have to start this thinking about well-being from teenage, starting from at least 13, not only as a young youth. So then there is such an aspect also, because the mental well-being, emotional well-being is key to everything. So then we have to, first of all, the person has to taken care of the oneself. Then it would be a shared thing. So then how to cope the situations, like, and how to refuse drug and first attempt, like. So then such a aspect also, it's very important. Actually, it's really well-being versus shared well-being versus individualization is also an aspect of this work.
I think you're right. If we feel separated, divided, all of those things, we become far more liable to get ourselves into problems. That was a really good point. Thank you, Priya. And thank you, everybody who's shared there. I think this is, as I said at the beginning, the biggest topic. Without our well-being, there's nothing else that really matters. Ash, I'm thinking that I don't go back to the PowerPoint, because I think that there's some dialogue happening. This is all about dialogue, and there's a few sort of, I want to say stories, because I've been talking a lot today about stories, but they're case studies that have popped into my mind, where some of the things that Tanya alluded to have happened, where just through conversation, just through connection, something has shifted for the young person. And I think that as youth workers, we obviously we can learn all the youth work practice, and yes, there's modules that we need to study, and we're educators and all of those things, but we can always enhance how we communicate. We don't just communicate with our words. We communicate in a multitude of ways. We don't just have 5 senses. We have a sense of time, a sense of balance, a sense of heat, all of these things that we don't talk about. All of them provide information for the other person that's in our interactions. I can remember doing a group it was called long-term unemployed young people, which in itself makes no sense to me. If you're a young person, you haven't been that long-term unemployed. These were young people under the age of 25 or 26. Most of them had never had a job. We did 8 groups over a whole 6-month period, and each group ran for 8 weeks. But we were doing several concurrently. So we were doing 4 days at the beginning, 2 days at the middle, and 4 days at the end. And in between, they were doing all sorts of outdoor pursuits and sailing and kayaking and abseiling and climbing rocks, all of that kind of stuff. And they were writing CVs and practicing their interview techniques and all of those things to try to help them get jobs. We did the second group, and then on the third group, this young man came in. And we always were told how many were going to sit. We always do our work in a circle, Ubuntu style. We put the chairs out, knowing how many were invited, hoping they would all come. One young man, we had a chair for him, but he was a few minutes late. He came in, and as he came through the door, he started to just count. Literally was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When he got to the fact that he was number 10, he went, and he came and sat down. So I said, oh, welcome. I remember meeting you when we did our one-to-ones. Come and join us. Let's call him Peter. Come and join us, Peter. I have to ask you, what were you counting? This is at the very beginnings of an 8-week process, don't forget. He said, I was just checking there was no more than 10 people here because I can't be in a group of more than 10 people. People were like, oh. And he said, no, I'm serious. I don't have to sign on. I don't have to go to the job center to sign on because there's more than 10 people there. I can't get on a bus because there's more than 10 people on a bus. I can't even go to the gym or the cinema. I couldn't get a job because there's going to be more than 10 people there. And I just said, where did this magical number of 10 people come from? And then he recounted this story. He said he went for a drink in a pub with his father. And while he was there, one of his friends phoned up and he invited his friend to come and join them in the pub. But his friend didn't know the way to the pub. So this guy went outside on the telephone and was talking him from the station to the pub. So he was, I don't know what he was saying. He was saying, like, you see the big tree, turn left, and then you'll see a post box, turn right. He was talking him to the pub. What he said was, I noticed a group of men, all dressed similarly, approaching me, but I was on the phone to my friend. I took no notice of them. He woke up in hospital 5 days later. They almost killed him. They beat him with an iron bar to within an inch of his life. They crushed his skull, caused his brain to bleed, all kinds of horrible injuries. From that moment on, he couldn't cope with more than 10 people. This is the story he made. From this external experience that took place, an event took place he had no control over, he made up a story about it. So I'm thinking to myself, how do I break this story? So I just said, look, from what you've told me, if this was a room of 100 people and you were here already, you would hate it. And he started to sweat visibly and start to tremble a little bit. It sounds a bit cruel. But I kind of left him to do that just for a split second. So he noticed it. And he knew that I knew because we were all going, like one of the girls went, are you all right? And I said, look, what if all 100 of those people loved you? What if all 100 of those people were here to help you and support you and nurture you? And you could see something was shifting again. The cogs in his brain were starting to whir and he started to calm down. And I said, you'd be much, much, much happier if you were just in a room with one other person, wouldn't you? And he went, yeah. And he came back to being okay again. And I said, even if it was the man with the iron bar and he'd come to finish you off this time. And he went straight back into, but we've played with his belief now. We played with his story now. We had the conversation in the group about what he'd just gone through. What had he processed in his head, in his thoughts, and in his heart and his feelings and his gut. That night, we all, the whole group of us, went back to that pub with him. We got the bus with him. There was more than 10 people on the bus. There was more than 10 people in the pub. The second the pub doors opened, the barmaid that was serving the drink, she stopped doing the drink she was doing, ran out to greet him in tears and said, we thought you died that night. We haven't seen you for 5 years. 5 years he'd been living with this story that he can't be in groups of more than 10. He had a diagnosis of paranoia. He had a diagnosis of some borderline personality disorder, but it was based on a flawed premise. It's not about how many people he's with. It's about the nature of those people. Do they care for me? Are they going to look after me? The number is just something that he made up in his head, but he acted as if it was true. So again, Tanya, what you're saying about the approach we can do, we can capacity build youth workers to learn some of these techniques, to learn how language can change stuff for people, to learn how pushing people beyond what people talk about, the comfort zone all the time. It's not a real thing. It's an idea too. But leaving your comfort zone by definition means that you should be a bit uncomfortable. You have to be. But that's where all the new stuff lies. It's not within what you already know. It's outside. So as youth workers, if we're helping people learn new things, there's going to be some discomfort. And I'm not talking about horrible discomfort. I'm not talking about making people cry and victimizing people, but helping them be okay with just moving outside that zone of comfort towards things that they need to learn. And it's a constant thing in our work. In 2019, we were very, very privileged. We did an East London version of West Side Story. We called it East Side Story. We had 2 rival housing estates where violence does happen, Tanya, not to the extent of the violence you spoke about in Jamaica, but people have died over this rivalry. We said to both groups, you're going to work together on a stage show. We worked with them separately for 3 weeks, and on week 4, they came together. And both of the groups, in week 1, we challenge young people. We say things like, this could be really, really, really rubbish. This could be the worst project you've ever been involved in. It could be a waste of your time. Or this could be life-changing. What do you want? So most of them go, well, I want it to be good. I don't want it to be boring. I don't want it to be rubbish. Some of them had come from prison. Some of them had come from youth offending teams. Some of them had diagnosis. One of them was homeless. Several of them had, anxiety disorders and ADHD and all of these things. This one girl came with a severe anxiety disorder. And one of the things that we said is that we're not forcing you to be here. We never force you to be part of our projects as youth workers. You have to want to be part of them. However, once you're here, we want you to participate. And her level of participation was, she could just about say her name by week 3. She would shake before she spoke. On week 4, when they all came together, one of the other young people said to her, we all agreed on week 1 that we're going to hold each other to account and we're going to try to support each other to get the best out of each other. You've only just said your name, but you keep coming. You're not contributing properly. What can we do to help you to contribute? And she just went, oh, she shook a bit again and cried a little bit and said, but I'm shy. All the women in my family are shy. And this is, again, a story she'd been given. Her mum had told her, all the women are shy. And she believed it, so it became true. So what me and my colleague at that point said was, I don't think you're being shy. I think you're being selfish. And a few people just went, you can't, you got to, what are you doing? That's horrible, Robin. I said, hang on. I'm not being horrible. Let me explain what I mean. In the context of this group, where we need you to be involved, I know you've got genius within you. You might be the best singer here, the best actress here, the best set designer, the best photographer, the best script writer, the best songwriter. We need your talent to make this the best it can be. And you're keeping that to yourself. So in the context of this group, that's not shyness. That's selfishness. And you could see her processing it. She wrote a song and performed it in front of us that day and blew our minds. So reminding young people that the story that they've been given or the story that they've developed is not necessarily accurate. Even if it's not accurate all of the time, some of the time they have opportunities to behave in different ways and be something different, is how we work. And I agree with what's been said. We need to share practice. I've seen some beautiful stuff whenever I've visited. When I was with Ashraf and her team in Delhi, we saw amazing things happen. And young people are always shocking us. They're always bringing things that we haven't considered possible to the table. So thank you for that. Ashraf, back to you.
I think with the examples you shared, maybe a moment to just breathe in. It's very, very deep sharing. I can almost imagine being there with, in those situations, the way you've described it. And just thank you for the work that it takes to create that space for young people to find their own journey.
Ash, I don't know how to do
Really,
anything else.
I don't know how to.
And people have said to me, how do you create this connection? And my answer is, I don't. I acknowledge it before I go in the room. It's there already. That's what Ubuntu is. It's there already. And I don't have to say to a young person, I trust you, I like you, I'm connected to you, I respect you. They feel it because I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth.
Nice. So beautiful. Yeah, totally agree, Robin.
Thank
you. I think it's a very important moment. You are sharing some of the ways in which this happens in a space, and I know there are all beautiful facilitators here who are doing different ways of these kind of processes with young people in their context. Maybe we just pause for a minute. I'm also mindful of the time. Maybe we open up and hear the conversation, take it a bit further. And Howard has talked about spaces in the chat. I don't know whether we want to bring that up. Howard, would you like to share a little bit more? Robin has also shared about essentially how the space gets co-created, like, and it's not the youth worker who is doing the work, but there is a play that is happening in the whole conversation and how it is set up and how the space is co-created. Did you want to add anything, Howard? You are putting comments, but I do want to invite you in terms of spaces and how these spaces can generate.
Well, I'll get a bit anti-intellectual here. I might have written a lot of books on youth work and related things, but I think we get carried away with two big philosophies. You know, that in England, the Thompson Report on Youth Work in 1982, I think, talked about association activities, advice, autonomy, and advocacy, I think, were the 5 A's, I think they were. When you talk to young people, what they want from youth work, they want space of their own, things to do, someone to talk to, and maybe someone to speak for them as well, and not just be empowered to speak for themselves. So I think we ought to be careful about that. I mean, when we go to a lawyer to get some legal support for something that we need legal support for, we don't want a lawyer to say, I'll help you to do it for yourself. We actually want some expertise. That's not always the case. So co-creation. I mean, we live in this world of jargon, and the practice remains pretty much the same. The words around it change all the time. And the reason we got spaces and bridges in this 2015 European Youth Work Convention was that, as I wrote, and I mean, when CAYWA was established, some of you will know this, Robin Broadbent had about 85 different definitions of youth work. No wonder we get in a mess trying to tell people what we do, because and I wrote in a document called Finding Common Ground for the second convention in Europe, I said, as soon as you have more than 3 words in a definition of youth work, everybody goes down a different path. They might use the same words, personal development or whatever, but they all disappear down different rabbit holes. And we might understand what everybody's talking about. Nobody out there has a clue. So I said, I actually picked a South African and an Australian definition of youth work. Facilitating agency came from Howard Sercombe, and developing navigational capacities, which links a little bit with our friend from Ghana about capacity building. So 2 words and 3 words. And that was from Charlene Schwartz in South Africa. And the point was that we were trying to find a narrative for youth work that would be plausible to the outside world, not our own little bubble, but to the wider world. And we came up with spaces and bridges. And I think it's a good way of thinking about it, that we want spaces and spaces for different things. Robin said a lot about it, so I don't need to say more. But, you know, that's where those interactions happen, through activities, through just hanging around. through stumbling upon chance encounters. I will say something about practice, if I can. I thought when Robin was talking, I thought of 3 ways of supporting well-being of young people. Sometimes it's personal attention, and it's actually doing individual work within a collective environment. Funnily enough, the other day, I was wishing the 42nd happy birthday to a girl with learning disabilities, a woman. But when she was 14, so 2/3 of her life ago, Karen turned up at my youth club with 2 friends who went to a special school, and they were bullied and they were victimized and they were marginalized. So I asked them if they'd run the coffee bar, because that compelled a connection. Robin's point about connection. And of course, the money was wrong every evening. Everyone probably thought I was fiddling the books, because Mars bars cost 7pence and not 6pence. And these girls were not very good at adding the money up, but they did start to embed themselves and engage in the youth club. And Karen beat me at pool when she was 18, so she wrote to me last week and told me she was still playing pool at the age of 42. So that's about putting people together. And then sometimes it's working with groups. It's actually working with the people who are excluding other young people and working with them and talking to them about why do they do that.
Correct.
So that's the whole point about spaces. Bridges is a different thing, but it's going to be more credible in terms of public policy recognition of youth work, which is about, we can use all the jargon, outcomes, impact, outputs, and so on, but it's about proving value, if you like. But we are in the business of helping young people to move forward in their lives with purpose and positivity, and not getting embedded in drugs and crime and all those things that contribute to their marginalization. So that's a brief summary of why spaces and bridges, I think, are a good way of capturing what youth work is all about in all of its forms: street work, centre-based work, project-based work, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard, as ever. That point you made about agency, that personal agency, is the key, isn't it, to well-being? I always encourage people of whatever age that rather than saying I have anxiety or I am anxious or I have depression or I am depressed, to start saying I've been doing it. I've been doing anxiety for 3 weeks. And
Yes.
suddenly embedded in that is you've got agency. What would be better for you to do? Why are you doing something that's not helping you? It's not happening to you. You're doing it. Once we remember that we have agency, we begin to be able to shift the narrative a little bit. And yeah, bridges and spaces is beautiful. Thank you.
If I may, yeah, it's beautiful, Howard. Thanks for placing that, and it brings things together and connects deeply to connection, which is all, like you said, Robin, you talked so much about it. I think, Robin, it would be wonderful if you put something into this Padlet or the chat, into this community, if we can read more on your practice
100%.
and how you write and speak about it. And Howard, you too. And actually everyone, but Howard, what you are talking about, if you can share with us. So we will, just before we end, please don't go away. Just before we end, we are going to put out the Padlet, I think. Am I correct, Pooja? We are going to put out, right? Okay. So Robin, before we go for closure, we have about 5 minutes. If I may, I have one line to add to this discussion. You okay with that? Yeah.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
yeah, because there's so little time and I don't want to take it away from you, but I really loved the conversation, number one. And I think it was beautiful, everyone, for what your contributions are. I think there are many voices we did not hear, and we will become better at this. We will want your suggestions on the format so that right now there are 25 people and there could be 50 next time. We had 100 registrations, but we knew that we will, with 100 registrations, you have 30 people coming. So we got the equation right. But what we would like is to, at the end of this conversation, of course, get feedback and want to co-create this next dialogue and keep improving. I think the conversation today has been particularly rich, but how do we engage everyone in it? And one thing I do want to share, this conversation on connections, spaces, experiences, Robin, I'm almost taking it for closure, but I want to make this connection. Is this, it also connects to what Priya talked about, individualization. It also connects to Tanya's conversation on what's happening. And in our smaller group, we also talked about the social context. So we cannot run away from the context that we are in and young people are in. And therefore, the agency is also about ensuring that they are working on social justice issues along with their own development. And for us, at least, and for many of us, and especially at Community, we talk about that active citizenship is part of building well-being. That if I'm not working on social justice issues, I am not working on myself. And this whole space, idea of the space is a space that allows me to discover myself through social action. And that is well-being for myself and well-being for the community. So back to your conversation, Robin, about it's not just who am I, but who are we? And that identification, the idea of Ubuntu, that we are together, it gets us to look at well-being in a much more larger context. So I mean, I just feel blessed to have been in this conversation, to hear all of you, certainly Robin, you presenting, leading the discussion, but also everyone here who's contributed, if not vocally, but through your reflections and your internal process. It's just been beautiful. I want Robin to please give closing comments, and after he closes, just wait for 2 minutes. Pooja is going to have a request for you all, so please give us 2 minutes extra. Robin, over to you to bring this conversation to closure, and then you can hand it over to Pooja. But from my side and from all of us, I want to thank you with all my heart for making this possible. Over to you, Robin.
Thank you so much, Ashraf, for your words, and thank you to everybody. I think that, just to wrap up, just believe in the process, believe in yourself, believe in the young people, keep pushing for better. That's all we can do. It's all we're expected to do. And, you know, be the bridge. Be the bridge. This time last year, I'd just come back from revisiting the village in Zambia where I spent my formative years. And I met two people there who knew my parents and knew me when I was born. And her name was Early, the lady I'm talking about, Early. I can't remember her last name, Chindu. And Early said to me, Robin, you are the bridge. That's the role you have. And it was so just beautiful. She took me back to my house and I had the clearest sense of identity I've ever had. The hairs on my arms are standing up now. And what youth work is doing is effectively for young people is reminding them of who they really are, reminding them of what's really possible for them, for their kids, for their families. And it's a vital role. So yeah, thank you all of you for doing the work that you do. Over to you, Pooja. And are you going to share the Padlet via email? Because I'm aware that when people leave, they won't have, maybe they haven't copied the link.
Yeah, we'll share it again on email also. But for people who are still here, I would the links are in the chat. There is a link to the Padlet where we would request you to share your well-being practice that you use in your work with young people. I think we're also trying to.
You're putting the slide a little bit early. Can we just hear Pooja finish? Yeah, Pooja, please go ahead.
Yeah. So in this Padlet, we are also trying to bring together best practices from around the world. So it's a living document that we can learn from, we can share our experiences on, and also share it with other people. So please do share your well-being best practice of working with young people on this Padlet. And another link that we have shared in the chat is the feedback form for this dialogue. And we would love to hear from you your experience of how if this design worked, if there is anything that we could do better to design it differently next time, that would enable much more conversations and much better learning exchange. So we would love to hear any inputs, any feedback that you have on that.
Thank you, Pooja. And I think Manisha was putting the second slide. Our next dialogue is going to be with Tanya. It's on where we've landed actually partly in this conversation is the social justice lens on youth work. And look forward to that in October. We are end October. We're going to come back with the dates shortly. So please join in again. And looking forward to having you, Tanya, in that avatar next time.